Each year, 1 in 4 adults over 65 takes a fall. Not a graceful yoga stumble. I'm talking about the kind of fall that lands you in the ER. Or, let's be honest, in the obituary column between a Sudoku champion and someone's beloved schnauzer. Now here's the weird part. There's a group of older adults who don't fall. They walk like they've made a pact with gravity, like their ankles have read the Tao Te Ching. What do they know that the rest of us don't? Is it just good luck, expensive sneakers, divine intervention? Or is it something embarrassingly simple like the way they look? Step swing their arms, or, heaven forbid, stand up. Today, we're diving into 9 walking secrets used by older adults who rarely fall. And no, these aren't exercises you'll abandon by Tuesday. These are permanent rewrites to your walking script, like a software update for your soul and your knees. So before your next trip is to the floor, not the Bahamas, let's talk. Because falling isn't just a physical thing. Sometimes it's the body's way of saying, sit down. You've been unconscious for years. Secret 1, where you look is where you'll eventually land. So stop staring at your doom. Let me ask you something blunt, dear friend. When you walk, where are your eyeballs pointed? If you're like most older folks, they're aimed straight at the ground, about 2 feet in front of you, like you're expecting to discover buried treasure in the pavement cracks. Or maybe you're just making absolutely sure you don't trip over that one tile that's been uneven since 1974. It makes sense, right? You're trying to avoid falling. Ironically, that's exactly what increases your chance of falling. Meet Sharon, 69, retired librarian from Vermont, fiercely independent, still drives, still cooks, and still glares at people for dog-earing library books. Last year, Sharon took a fall in the parking lot of her local Trader Joe's. Not because the lot was icy, not because she was distracted, but because she was looking straight down, scanning for a crack in the concrete, and never saw the SUV that rolled silently past her. That fall broke her wrist, her confidence, and temporarily, her spirit. But during physical therapy, her therapist introduced her to something called the 3-point gaze. It changed everything, the 3-point gaze, not just for Zen archers. Here's how it works. First, your near gaze, about 10-15 feet ahead. Not your feet, not your shoelaces ahead. This gives your body time to prepare for obstacles. Second, your far gaze. Lift your eyes to the horizon. Every 10-15 seconds, whether that's a doorway, a tree, or your grandson's absurd mustache. Third, peripheral awareness. Instead of scanning the ground like a predator, you open your vision sideways. It's not about hyper-focus. It's about openness, seeing the world like a relaxed cat on a windowsill, not a paranoid squirrel on espresso. Buddhists have been teaching this for centuries. Ever seen a monk walking slowly, calmly? Eyes lifted not at the sky, not at their feet, but forward. That's walking meditation. That's awareness in motion. That's not clumsiness, it's composure. Now let's talk psychology, because this is more than muscle memory. Most elders don't just look down because they're cautious. They look down because they're afraid. Decades of don't fall creates a posture of dread. Fear scrunches the body like a paper bag in the rain. It folds your shoulders, tightens your neck, shrinks your spine. It tells your nervous system, collapse, retreat, survive. The problem, you're not in danger, you're just going to the mailbox. When you raise your gaze, you're not just preventing falls. You're making a statement to your nervous system. I am safe, I am upright, I am still here. Sharon started practicing this 3-point gaze every morning on her neighborhood walks. She used to watch for sidewalk cracks. Now she watches the mountains, and not once has she tripped over a thing except her neighbor's dog. But in her defense, that thing is like a beige speed bump with fur. Try this. Take a short walk today. Pick a spot 15 feet ahead. Lift your gaze every 10 seconds. Soften your peripheral vision and notice how your spine straightens without trying. You'll walk taller, breathe easier, and for a moment, you might forget you're terrified of falling. And that, my friend, is freedom. Not the kind you fight wars over. The kind where you stop living like the next step might kill you. Secret 2, flat feet, flat spirit while your ankles are crying. You ever see someone walking like their legs are on strike? Feet hitting the pavement like cold pancakes, no bounce, no rhythm, just a slow, weary flop, 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 like life gave up somewhere around the knees. That's not just aging, that's a crisis of biomechanics and spirit. Let me introduce you to Gerald. 73 years old, former insurance agent, walks like a man with secrets, probably because he once hid in his own garage to avoid a surprise birthday party. But that's another story. Gerald used to walk flat-footed. Every step was like slamming a typewriter key, no roll, no flow, just a thud. His podiatrist lovingly referred to it as walking like a refrigerator being dragged across gravel. And then Gerald fell twice once, while gardening once in the church parking lot. Both times he landed not just on the ground, but in a full existential reckoning. So his physical therapist showed him what I'm about to show you, the heel-to-toe roll. Here's the thing, babies know how to walk better than most adults. When we're young, we walk heel-to-toe naturally. Our feet roll like poetry, graceful, grounded, efficient. Then life happens. We get stiff, we get scared, we get orthopedic shoes that feel like tiny prisons. Eventually, you're not walking anymore. You're thudding. This kills your balance. Flat-footed walking, zero shock absorption. Your knees suffer. Your hips get stiff. Toe-first walking looks like you're sneaking up on someone. Except you're sneaking up on a hip replacement. Heel-to-toe restores your natural rhythm. Your body says, ah, yes, I remember this. In Buddhism, the Buddha's footprints are a revered symbol. Why? Because how you walk is how you live. Heavy feet, bash heavy heart, dragging, resisting, rushed, grasping, balanced, us awake. Walking mindfully, step by step. Heel to toe is a spiritual practice. It tells the earth, I'm still here, still walking, still trying. Every step becomes a little offering. Gerald's first week doing heel-to-toe walks, disaster. It felt like I was impersonating a penguin in orthopedic rehab, he said. But week 2, something clicked. His steps got quieter, smoother. His granddaughter even noticed and said, Grandpa, you don't walk like Frankenstein anymore. By month 3, Gerald was walking to his AA meetings without needing to hold on to parked cars for support. That's progress. How to practice this like a foot whisperer. 1. Walk along a lined sidewalk, crack hallway. Seam your ex-wife's boundaries on. 2. Place heel. First roll the weight through the outside edge of your foot, then push off the toes. 3. Go slow, like molasses on a cold day. Slow. 4. Focus on smoothness, not speed. This is not a race, it's a reunion with your ankles. Do this 10 minutes a day. Your legs will remember, your brain will relax, your balance will whisper, thank you for not abandoning me. When you walk flat-footed, the world feels heavy. When you walk heel to toe, it feels like it might just forgive you. Try 5 steps right now. If you feel even a little more grounded, comment, I'm rolling, baby. Because once your feet remember their rhythm, your spirit follows. And who knows? Maybe you'll stop falling and start arriving. Secret 3. Engage your core or be dragged by your gut. There comes a point in life when your stomach starts making more decisions than your brain. It decides when you sit, when you grunt, when you sigh. And if you're not careful, it starts deciding how you walk. Now, I'm not here to shame anyone. This isn't a six-pack commercial. This is about survival. Or as my Uncle Ray once said after slipping on a frozen driveway, I didn't fall. I was pulled down by gravity and regret. Darlene, 76, lost her husband 3 years ago, and along with him, lost her posture, Her shoulders caved in, her belly relaxed like a tired balloon. She began to waddle gently through life like a woman trying not to disturb the air. Then came the fall. Not dramatic, just enough to bruise her pride and hip bone in equal measure. At the ER, the doctor told her, "Your legs are strong. Your core's just asleep." Darlene blinked. Core. Your core isn't just abs. It's the band of muscles around your midsection that keeps your upper body from flopping over like a dying sunflower. When it's weak or disengaged, your knees, hips, and spine start negotiating like union workers on strike, and guess what? You don't need planks, crunches, or a gym membership to activate it. You just need the zip-up technique. Here's how it works. 1. Imagine pulling your belly button gently toward your spine. 2. Not sucking it in like you're on a dating app, just a gentle, conscious tightening. 3. Aim for 20-30% effort. Enough to feel supported, but not like you're prepping for a punch from Bruce Lee. 4. You should still be able to breathe, talk, and judge people silently. That's it. That's the core. A quiet support system that keeps you upright, balanced, and slightly smug. It's not just laziness. It's grief fatigue and years of emotional heaviness. We let go in the middle because life hits us in the middle. Loss, divorce, shame, regret. It all sinks down into the gut like emotional gravy, and then we wonder why we wobble. Buddhism teaches us that the center is where balance lives. The hara, the energy core in the lower belly, isn't just anatomical, it's spiritual. When you walk without engaging it, you're basically a wind chime, hoping for calm weather. Darlene's therapist gave her a trick. She placed little colored dot stickers around her house, on the fridge, on the mirror, near the back door. Every time she saw one, she did a core check. Zip up, straighten, breathe. 2 weeks later, her daughter said, "Mom, you look sturdy." Darlene beamed. Sturdy was the best compliment she'd had in a decade. This isn't about looking fit. It's about walking into a room and not apologizing for still being alive. It's about moving through the world with structure, even when everything else feels like it's falling apart. So try this stand-up. Gently zip up, take 10 steps. If you feel even 5% more like a Roman emperor and 5% less like a deflating balloon, you're doing it right. And remember, no one ever found enlightenment with a wobbly spine. Secret 4, swing those arms like you mean it. You're not a mummy. Yet. Let's talk about your arms. Remember those two long things hanging at your sides like bored roommates. You might not notice them much anymore, especially if you've adopted the classic senior shuffle, arms clutched in front, shoulders, tight hands gripping a shopping list. You can't read without glasses. It's okay, you're not alone. Most people over 60 start walking like they're preparing for a mugshot. Stiff locked, no swing, no rhythm. But guess what? That lifeless arm posture, it's silently messing with your balance and probably aging you 15 years in the process. Stanley, 81, lives in Flagstaff, Arizona, where the sidewalks are flatter than most political arguments. Yet he kept falling. No ice, no trip hazards, just slow motion, slow decline tumbles that made him question everything from his sense of balance to his grip on reality. Then his therapist watched him walk and said, "Stanley, your arms aren't doing squat." Turns out Stanley hadn't moved his arms since the Carter administration. He'd been shuffling like a penguin at a tax seminar. Not only was he unstable, he looked like a walking obituary. Here's what most people forget. Your arms counterbalance your legs. When your right foot steps forward, your left arm should swing forward. It's nature's elegant little way of preventing you from face planting into the asparagus display at Whole Foods. Without that swing, your torso rotates too much. Your steps get shorter and your body starts to teeter like an underpaid birthday clown. And when your arms swing properly, 3 magical things happen. 1, you reduce fall risk by up to 30%. 2, you use less energy, up to 8%, less effort per step. 3, you look alive, which, let's be honest, is half the battle after 70. In Zen temples, monks walk slowly in a circle, arms relaxed, swinging gently, matching the breath. The movement isn't just for balance, it's symbolic. Right foot, left hand, movement and stillness. Yin and yang. It's a dance with the present moment. You're not walking from point A to B, you're inhabiting your body again. When your arms swing, your body says, "Ah, yes, I remember Grace Stanley's therapist gave him a challenge. Day 1, exaggerate your arm swing for 5 minutes. Make it comically large, look like you're in a 1940s marching band. Day 2, sync your arm and leg, right foot, left hand. Walk like you're in a musical but depressed. Day 3, relax your shoulders and let the arms swing naturally." Stanley's daughter saw him walking in the park and said, "Dad, you look 10 years younger." Or like you're running for mayor. He took it as a compliment. Here's your test. Take a walk and record yourself. Do your arms move, or are they locked like you're holding invisible grocery bags? If your arms are stiff, your spirit might be too. Loosen up, let the arms swing like pendulums, not side to side, front to back. Keep them around a 45-degree bend at the elbow, hands relaxed, wrists soft. This is not just about walking, it's about rejoining your body one limb at a time. So swing those arms, reclaim your rhythm, and remind the world, you're not a mummy yet, you're a walking miracle. Don't forget to move like one secret 5. Your shoes are lying to you and maybe trying to kill you. Somewhere along the line, someone told you to wear supportive shoes, and you listened. You bought the marshmallow soles, the orthopedic bricks, the sneakers so cushioned they feel like walking on angel cake. But here's the dirty truth, your comfy shoes might be slowly turning you into a fall risk. They're not supporting you, they're numbing you. Judy, 68, retired ER nurse from Minnesota, spent 4 decades on her feet, saving lives, giving IVs, and quietly judging anyone who couldn't handle pain. After retirement, she bought herself what she called her dream shoes, extra wide, ultra cushioned slip-ons. She called them pillows for my soul. By year 2, she'd fallen 3 times, once on gravel, once on her patio, and once on an actual pillow. Her podiatrist said, "Judy, these aren't shoes. They're sensory deprivation tanks. Here's what happens with over-cushioned shoes. They block proprioception, the brain's ability to sense what your foot is touching. They make your ankle lazy, like a spoiled grandkid who expects to be carried everywhere. They blur the line between safe and slippery. Meanwhile, your foot, an engineering marvel with 26 bones and 200,000 nerve endings, has no idea what it's stepping on. It's like trying to drive while blindfolded. But hey, very comfortable. In many Buddhist traditions, walking barefoot is sacred, not just for humility, but for awareness. When you feel the ground, you come back into the body, into presence, into truth. Modern shoes. They disconnect you from the earth and from your inner cues. They may protect your feet, but they also dull your instincts. This isn't a barefoot cult invitation. It's a call to retrain your feet to feel again. Judy dumped her squishy slippers and followed 3 rules from her physical therapist. 1 low, wide heel, not flat, but no more than a 1-inch drop between heel and toe. 2 thin, flexible forefoot so you can feel texture and terrain. 3 secure fastening laces or Velcro. No slip-ons. If you can kick your shoe off without bending, it's a hazard. She also started foot strengthening exercises. Nothing crazy, just toe spreads, towel scrunches, and marble pickups. Her balance improved. Her falls stopped, and her grandson said, "Grandma's got ninja feet now." She liked that. Your feet aren't just appendages, they're sensors, antennae for the soul. They whisper to your brain, "We're stable, we're safe. We've got this." If they're muffled by too much foam, you're walking blindfolded through a minefield of uneven sidewalks, rogue extension cords, and area rugs that belong in the trash. Try this, take off your shoes. Stand on a soft towel. Slowly shift your weight side to side, front to back. Feel what your feet tell you. If they're confused, it's not their fault. You've been walking in bunkers. Next time you buy shoes, skip the ones that feel like cake. Go for the ones that make you feel awake. Because if your shoes are lying to you, your knees, hips, and balance will pay the price. And at this age, no one wants to be betrayed by footwear. You survived heartbreak, war, and taxes. Don't let a shoe take you down. Basic 6. Stop walking like you're on a tightrope to the afterlife. Some seniors walk like they're auditioning for Cirque du Soleil, one foot directly in front of the other, like they're crossing a tightrope above a pit of Social Security paperwork. If that's you, congratulations. You've officially turned walking into a dangerous sport. The truth is, one of the biggest hidden causes of falls isn't weakness, poor vision, or even bad shoes. It's how narrow you walk. Yes, your footsteps are too close together, like your legs are whispering secrets to each other. Bob is 74, former mechanic, lives in Idaho, and has a pension, a stubborn dog, and a tragic relationship with patio stones. He never understood why he kept falling, not tripping, just slowly tipping over like an overwatered fern. Then his physical therapist asked him to walk down the hallway, and that's when she noticed it. Bob's feet crossed the imaginary center line with every step. She said, "Bob, you walk like you're trying to avoid paying property taxes. Narrow and suspicious. Here's the breakdown. Feet too close together. Unstable base. Side-to-side sway increases dramatically. Less room for correction if you lose balance. You've essentially turned your walking path from a solid rectangle into a single string. And unless you're a circus performer or an existential poet, that's a terrible plan after 60. Let's get metaphysical for a second. Walking narrow is more than a physical habit. It's psychological, it's spiritual shrinking. Your gait is a quiet, unconscious way of shrinking yourself. In Buddhist philosophy, to walk with presence is to walk with worth. You take up space because you belong here. Every step is a declaration of I exist. When you widen your stance, not exaggerated, just hip width, you're claiming your life. You're saying, I'm still here, I still matter. Get out of my way, Sharon. Bob fixed his balance problem using painter's tape and stubbornness. He placed 2 strips of tape on his hallway floor, spaced exactly at hip width. Then every day he practiced walking between the lines, 1 foot on each track, never crossing over. After 2 weeks, something shifted. His wife noticed it first. You're not wobbling anymore, she said. And you stopped looking like you're sneaking out of a crime scene. Bob stood a little taller. That's because I widened my base, he said, like a man who just installed emotional flooring. Your walking foundation should be like a pair of railroad tracks. Parallel, stable, not touching, never crossing. Visualize it. Then walk it over and over until it becomes automatic. And if you're feeling fancy, you can even mutter a mantra. I walk with space, I walk with strength, I walk like someone who remembers how. If you've spent your whole life trying not to be a burden, not to be seen, not to take up room, walking with a narrow base is your body's way of apologizing for existing. Stop that. You're not a ghost. You're not in rehearsal. You're not crossing a tightrope to the afterlife. You're here. So widen your stance, stabilize your path, and let the world adjust to your balance for once. Secret 7. The sacred pause that saves your hip. Let's get brutally honest. Most falls don't happen while you're walking straight like a noble senior citizen heading to bingo night. They happen in the in-between moments, the transitions. You know, the ones standing up from your favorite recliner, like a groaning walrus, turning suddenly when someone yells, "Pie's ready," pivoting mid-stride to grab the TV remote you left in the fridge. Those moments, that's where hips go to die. Carol is 79, widow, former elementary school teacher from Oregon, fierce, sarcastic, and still insists on doing her own grocery shopping because nobody picks bananas right. Her downfall literally was a quick turn in the kitchen. She went from, where's the paprika, to hello linoleum in under 2 seconds. No broken bones, just a bruised hip and a spiritual awakening. Her physical therapist told her, "Carol, you need to start moving like a Buddhist, not a squirrel on espresso." That's when she learned the 3-second pause. Transitions, those tiny shifts from sitting to standing, turning to walking. Walking to stopping are statistically the most dangerous movements for older adults. Why your brain needs a second to update its GPS. Your balance system momentarily disconnects. Most people rush through them like they're being chased by invisible tigers. The result, wobble overcorrection, and the kind of fall that ends in Medicare paperwork and orthopedic regrets. Here's the spiritual gold. Pausing is power. In meditation, we pause between breaths. In mindful speech, we pause before reacting, and in mindful movement, we pause before shifting directions. This isn't hesitation, it's intention. A sacred pause says, "Wait, let me arrive in this body before I move it." Carol began inserting a 3-second pause before every major movement, before standing up, before turning corners, before stepping through doorways, before changing surfaces, carpet to tile, rug to hard floor. She didn't just stop falling, she started moving with presence, and her grandkids said she now walks like a wise owl on a mission, which is surprisingly accurate. How to practice the sacred pause. 1. Choose 3 or 5 transitions. You do daily, getting up from the couch, turning in the kitchen, entering the bathroom, etc. 2. Insert a 3-second pause before each. Stabilize your feet. Engage your core. Look where you're going. Then move slow, smooth, like a Zen cowboy. Pro tip, use little reminder stickers. Carol used red dots to cue herself at high-risk zones. Eventually, the pause becomes automatic, like breathing or ignoring political arguments at Thanksgiving. Falling during a transition is like tripping on a thought. You weren't ready. You weren't present. You just moved blindly. But when you pause, you reclaim your body. You catch up with your own momentum. Because the difference between falling into the moment and falling flat on your face is usually about 3 seconds. So take the pause, own it, and remember, monks don't fall. Not because they're spry, but because they move like they mean it. Secret 8. Your inner dialogue is why you trip. Let's get philosophical for a second. Dangerous territory, I know. But if you've ever caught yourself muttering, "Don't fall, don't fall," as you shuffle down the hallway with a death grip on your walker, congratulations, your own inner voice may be trying to sabotage you. Turns out it's not just your hips that are unsteady, it's your thoughts. Hank is 77, retired attorney. Grew up in Wisconsin where feelings were frozen, somewhere between the mashed potatoes and the Lutheran guilt. He'd walk around all day with a storm cloud in his mind. I'm getting slower. I look pathetic. I swear if I fall in front of Linda again, I'll just stay down. It's funny until it's not, because Hank did fall again. Right outside church, Linda gasped, Hank cursed. And somewhere deep inside, the voice whispered, "Told you so." That fall wasn't about his shoes. It was about his shame. Here's what geriatric psychologists know when your inner voice becomes hostile. Your body responds with tension. Shoulders rise, core disengages, breath shortens, movement stiffens. It's the fight or flight response. Except you're fighting gravity and fleeing from yourself. And guess who's most likely to fall? The person whose mind is constantly predicting failure. That's not superstition. That's somatic science. In Buddhism, there's a saying, the mind is a wonderful servant but a terrible master. Most seniors let their minds become drill sergeants, shouting instructions, criticism, warnings. But what if instead of commanding your body like an angry general, you spoke to it like an old friend? What if walking wasn't an anxious performance but a quiet collaboration? After his fall, Hank's daughter took him to a therapist, not for his hip, but for his self-talk. He was assigned a deceptively simple practice. Every time he walked, he had to say kind things to himself. Not affirmations like a Pinterest yoga meme, just real grounded stuff. I'm walking steady. I've made it this far. Each step is enough. I've survived worse than a sidewalk. It felt silly at first, but within 2 weeks, Hank noticed something strange. His gait relaxed. His shoulders dropped. His balance improved. And yes, Linda noticed, "You're walking better," she said. Hank smiled. "Turns out I respond better to compliments than threats. Here's how to rewire your fall-prone mind. 1. Notice the negative script. Don't fall, idiot, is a classic 2-pause zip-up. Gaze forward. 3. Replace the script with supportive self-talk out loud or silently. 4. Repeat it like a mantra while walking. Think of it like upgrading the operating system in your brain, from anxious guilt, 1995, to calm presence. Pro Secret 9. Fall once, learn twice. Turning a trip into a teaching. Let's be real. Sometimes you do fall. Despite your best shoes, widest stance, zipped-up core, and saint-like posture, gravity wins. You hit the floor. The dog panics. Your dignity leaves the room. The earth offers no apology. But here's the twist. What happens after that fall? That's where the real secret lives. Louise, 82, from upstate New York, tripped on her living room rug while rushing to silence the microwave before it beeped. Because in her house, microwave beeps equal judgment. She went down hard, fractured her pelvis. 6 weeks in a rehab center, pain, frustration, and sponge baths that could make a nun weep. But something strange happened during that recovery. Her husband, George, emotionally unavailable since 1984, started showing up, reading to her, cooking actual meals. One day he said, "You falling scared the hell out of me. I don't want to be left with just your recipes." They laughed, they cried, they reconnected. Louise later said, "The fall cracked my bone, but it opened my marriage in Buddhist practice. Every obstacle is a bell ringing to wake you up. A fall isn't just a moment of physical collapse. It's a dharma door, a chance to examine how you're moving, how you're thinking, and what you've been ignoring. Maybe you've been rushing through life out of habit. Maybe you haven't asked for help in decades. Maybe the fall is just the body's way of saying, sit the hell down and reflect. That's not failure, that's feedback. After a fall, instead of spiraling into shame or fear, try this. 1. Reflect, don't panic. What led to the fall? Where was your mind? What emotion was present? 2. Journal or talk it out. Turn the story into insight, not punishment. 3. Ask, what did I need? Slower pace, more light, a cleared hallway. Emotional rest. 4. Make one change, just one. Don't build a fortress. Build awareness. Buddhism doesn't say don't fall. It says fall mindfully, rise wiser. Post-fall trauma is real. It creates something called post-fall syndrome, an invisible cage of fear that causes seniors to reduce movement, withdraw socially, and ironically, become more likely to fall again. But when we turn the fall into a narrative of growth, we disarm that fear. Louise didn't just recover physically, she reframed the fall as a wake-up call to reconnect, slow down, and let others in. You're going to fall in life, but that doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're in motion. It means you're still here. It means your story is still being written, bruises, breakthroughs, and all. So fall if you must, but rise with meaning. And remember, you didn't fall down. You fell inward into something wiser. Let's be honest. Walking after 60 isn't just transportation. It's resistance training against gravity, time, and carpets with questionable intentions. But here's what we've learned. Walking isn't just about not falling. It's about reclaiming your body, your rhythm, your right to move through the world with dignity. These 9 secrets, they're not fitness hacks. They're acts of self-respect. And here's the real magic. Once these become your daily rituals, you don't just move differently, you live differently. You begin to embody what Buddhist monks already know. When you walk with awareness, every step becomes a prayer. When you move with kindness, the world responds with grace. So walk softly, walk boldly, and if you ever do fall, let it be the kind that brings you closer to wisdom, not the emergency room. Now go forth not just upright, but uplifted, and maybe hit that subscribe button before you wander off. Because if you've made it this far, you're clearly not done growing.